Man, what a week. You guys know who I'm gonna go with. It's a lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
Y'all don't follow. Y'all don't know what happened. The Texans lost to a 2-8 team today, y'all. They lost. They lost to some bum ass niggas. One of the reasons why we lost, get these fucking trash ass offensive. I said I ain't gonna go off. Get these trash ass niggas off the offensive line. Shaq Mason, get your motherfucking ass out of Houston, nigga. You let another grown ass man throw you like you was a bitch, nigga. Where your pride at, bro? Where your pride
Hey,
at,
what's
nigga?
going on? My name is Keith. I'm from Black Quarterback Series, and today we got like three things that could have been number one on the list. We got the excuse me. We have the NFC North race. We have the Houston Texans imploding. We got Kansas City just doing Kansas City things, but ultimately came down to the Houston thing. We're gonna talk about Houston. So I got CJ 20 for 33, two touchdowns, two interceptions. Nico Collins, he should have had over 100 yards, but he dropped a few passes. Five receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. So I know my thumbnail says Houston, we have a real problem. Because we have a real problem, this team is not going to go anywhere if CJ is just throwing ducks and that offensive line is, excuse my language, horse shit. That offensive line is terrible. I saw a guy get thrown down. Like the offensive line, this might be one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. This offensive line is single-handedly going to cost the Houston Texans the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say every other like position group is playing well because they're not, but the offensive line is one of the biggest issues in this team because it forces CJ to have to do stuff that he doesn't want to do. It's forcing CJ to be in positions that he don't want to be in. Run. I saw him run. This was last week. The bootleg. Why are we running the bootleg when we can't guard anybody regularly? You know what I mean? So I just don't understand. So offensive line. What can go wrong will go wrong. I've never seen a team where literally almost everything that you try to do go wrong. Like they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. Interceptions, giving up deep passes to Will Levis, just it was ridiculous. The penalties, shooting stuff in the pool, all the penalties, and I just don't understand what D'Amico's doing this year. Now I do think CJ is having a sophomore slump, and he'll be okay. As I move my camera, I think he'll be okay. But it's rough right now. It's super duper rough right now. Um, they're 7-5, staring at the opportunity to possibly not make the playoffs because I think two teams from the AFC North are going to get in. I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh are going to get in. So, and in that division, they might roll into the playoffs. Now that I think about it, looking at that division, because the Jaguars are terrible, the Titans are terrible, and the Colts are not good. So I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what to make of it. They might roll into that division, but they're not scaring anybody. This is not the Houston Texans team from last year. And I just don't know what to even say. And you'd be like, Keith, so we're going to talk about the Dan Orlovsky. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. The reason that even happened is because the offensive line is so bad that CJ had to run for his life and he stepped out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds because he couldn't block. They couldn't block nobody. So we can say what we want about the team and how they're not living up to expectations and all this. But at the end of the day, if the offensive line ain't got itself together, then what are we supposed to do? So moving on to the other bizarre game of the week, Kansas City kicking a field goal to beat the Panthers when most of us thought this game was over when it was 20-6. So uh, Bryce Young was 20 for 34, 263 yards to touchdown. For the first time in a while, we saw flashes. Excuse me. We saw flashes of what we could be. We saw flashes of what Bryce Young could be if you actually get real talent around him. This is why I was like, you can't give up on him because he's kind of going through. If we're gonna say Lamar Jackson is going through LeBron James and Cleveland type thing, then we can say that C.J. Stroud is going through a Cade Cunningham and Detroit Lions thing. Not Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, where everybody around you is just so awful that you really have no chance. And he's not a transcendent talent to where he's gonna uplift the whole program. You know what I mean? He's not that type of athlete. He's small, like he's not that guy. But if you pick greatness around him, he could be great. What they do to him in Alabama, they surrounded him with talent. What they do with Tua, they surrounded him with talent, and that's the ilk that he's from. He's from that Tua mold where everybody, if he has talent around him, he's gonna look really good. But if he doesn't have talent around him, he's not gonna look good. I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes could thrive in that system. So let's move on to Pat. 27 for 37, 269 yards and 3 touchdown passes. I don't have the rushing yards, but he had that huge 30-yard rush that ended up leading to the field goal. And like, what you guys want me to say? I feel like I'm a broken record. What you guys want me to say about the Chiefs? Oh man, I'm concerned about the Chiefs. I don't know if this is an indictment on the Chiefs. Can they play against good opponents? They 10-1, and then they lost to Buffalo, who probably has the MVP. So like, I'm not even going to really give the Chiefs breath with this. They'll be okay. I have to see the Chiefs lose in the playoffs for me to be concerned. And we just haven't seen it in 2 seasons. So they played down to their competition, got in a real game, and they ended up winning it. So I don't even really have much to say about the Chiefs other than they just going to keep winning. They're going to have home field advantage throughout the whole playoffs if they don't stumble again, which I don't think they will. And so the NFC wildness, the NFC West wildness. So I'm going to put the NFC standings up there. My Eagles breakdown post-game, I'm going to leave it at the end of the video on one of the cards. And so with the Eagles beating the Rams and the 49ers blowing out, or the 49ers getting blown out by Green Bay, we'll talk about Green Bay for a few seconds. I did not get a chance to watch this Green Bay game, but I'm going to leave Jordan Love's numbers up here. From what I saw in the just box score watching, so take it with a grain of salt, it looked like they were able to run the ball really well and kind of wear down the 49ers. This 49ers team is not what we thought it was. Who was it? It was Monty Te'o. Monty Te'o, he was on one of the mini shows, and he was talking about how this team is broken and all that. And it looks like he was right. Yeah, it looks like he was right. So I don't have the numbers written down. It completely escaped me, but I do know one of those interceptions that I got Geno through. He was tricked, and I can't use NFL footage like at all because they struck me for 15 seconds last week. So I'm just not even going to use it at all. One of those interceptions, he was baited. And it looked like you could tell in the footage. He was like, oh, my God, I can't believe that. So one of those interceptions was not his fault. If I'm not mistaken, he threw 2. So the NFC race. This game really could have been a blowout if Seattle didn't make as many mistakes as they made and not taking advantage of opportunities that they had. And you can say that about both teams. It wasn't the prettiest of games, right? It was even through most of it. But what really it all came down to, because I'm sure you guys don't want to hear the minutia of it, what it really came down to is when Seattle needed to run the ball and get where they needed to get and like keep the game out of the Cardinals' reach, they were able to do it. They held the ball at the end of the game. I think they got the ball around the 11, 12-minute mark. They held the ball for 8 minutes and 12 seconds and kicked the field goal. And Seattle was down, and the Cardinals were down 2 possessions, so they wasn't even able to. The Cardinals were not able to even make it a run. They wasn't even to make a run because by the time they got the ball, it was like I think it's like 50 seconds to a minute left, and the Cardinals did a terrible job in their 2 minute. They just 10 seconds here, 20 seconds here, 15 seconds here, just absolutely destroyed any chance of them winning. And the Seattle came out on top. Now, I don't think either one of these teams are Super Bowl contenders. I don't. None of the NFC West is a Super Bowl contender. But can they upset somebody who is a Super Bowl contender? I definitely believe that. Could they upset a 49ers or Seattle? Or not 49ers. Could they upset a Detroit or Philly? I definitely believe they could. But this division is wild. One game separates all the teams. So if you're looking at me and you think who I'm picking, I want to pick Kyler, because I think he's the most talented guy out of all 4 of these teams. Would not be surprised if Seattle. I think it's a 2-horse race because Brock Purdy is hurt. I'm never going to pick the Rams for anything. That's my one bias. I'm just never going to pick the Rams for anything. Cardinals have the best player, but I do think Seattle has the better coach. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think they probably win this division 12 wins probably wins this division. 12 wins probably wins this division. They can definitely get there. So I'm going with the Cardinals to win the NFC West. And just to add to that, just to add to the Cardinals game, Kobe Bryant. Yeah, his name is Kobe Bryant. Like it's a whole story from it. That pick that he had, the pick six. First of all, terrible throw by Kyler, and that kind of it happened earlier in the game, but that was kind of a setup for what ended up happening because if they looked like they were going to score there, but that was on fourth down. Who knows if they get the fourth down? Who knows what they get? If they get at least three, at least that last drive, they can possibly draw the ball down the field. So I think Kyler made a huge mistake. That might have been the mistake of the game, even though Seattle was trying to give them the game as well, and Arizona was playing good defense. But that was probably the biggest mistake in that game that led to Seattle winning. But like I said, the NFC North is going to be a dogfight towards the bitter end, and so looking forward to seeing how that shakes out, and hopefully the Rams don't. Between the NFC West and the AFC North, two of the most entertaining divisions that we got in football right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these divisions shake out into. Okay. Final game of the week. Jaden Daniels. This crazy, I'm not even going to say crazy game. The last 4 minutes of this game was crazy. So we're going to talk about a couple things, then we're going to get to that 4 minutes. So Jaden Daniels was 25 for 38, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. So shout out to, I think her name is NFL 32, I think. I'm not sure. Her tag will be at the top of the screenshot that I got. And so she put up a video, this probably a few days ago, probably right after the loss, where all of Cliff Kingsbury's teams have fallen off towards the middle of the season. And if you watched the Arizona Cardinals last year, this same thing happened. They won like 10 games straight and then lost like 4 of their last 5 and limped into the playoffs. So I don't want to put it all on Jaden, but we see that the NFL kind of figures Cliff's off. Well, not even the NFL, football period, because he did this in college. If you see the graphic, I don't know what makes Cliff Kingsbury's offense so predictable towards the end of the season, but it feels like I don't know how many of you gamers, but it feels like when on Madden when you win a Super Bowl and like that next season is just extra difficult for no reason. I don't know if anybody else realized that. I know I realized that when I play. And even if you don't win a Super Bowl, that next season is always more difficult because they know your offense and the AI is more. They kind of know what you're doing. So that's kind of what it feels like. What happens with Cliff Kingsbury? They start off hot, and then the NFL eventually figures out what he's doing, and then eventually he can't do that no more. He doesn't have a changeup. He doesn't have a fastball. Well, changeup is a better analogy. He doesn't have a changeup that he can throw. After that, I think it was who said it? I can't remember. I feel like it was Greg Olsen. But there has to be a version 2.0 of this offense because defenses just know what they're doing. And so, with that being said, they still had a chance to win. They probably win this game if their kicker makes one of the field goals that he missed. He missed the field goal, and then he missed the extra point that would have led, at least for them to tie it. And so we're going to go down all of this. So, at the 4-minute mark, it was 20-9. Everything that happened after that was, as I'm looking, Washington scores. They cut it to 3, and then Turpin has a kick return. Washington makes a field goal, and at that point it's 20-27. And so Washington then scores again. They missed the field goal, and then Dallas takes it back and goes up by 7. And then they have to try to. Miracles couldn't strike twice. Washington has the ball again. They can't score. So if they make those field goals earlier in this game, I think Washington plays a little freer and Dallas has to play more desperate. And I think Cooper Kupp throws an interception at some point in this. But I left this game because Houston was playing at the same time, and I wanted to see if Houston was going to collapse, and they did. So I left this game. It was 20-9. I was like, okay, I don't really need to watch this game. It's boring. I'll just catch it on the replay. And then I look at the bottom of the ticker, and the game ended 34-27. I was like, how did that even happen? So I went back and watched it. Absolutely crazy game. The wild card in the NFC is going to be crazy because I think Philly's gonna run away with that division. I think Detroit is gonna run away with their division, and so then you'll have Minnesota, Washington, whoever doesn't win the NFC West. It's gonna be a dogfight to get that wild card spot. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. This NFL season is gonna come down to a crazy end. So just a few honorable mentions. The Lions beat Arizona. Um, the Bears almost beat the Vikings. I think they were up in that game and they ended up losing. I didn't get a chance to watch that game in full. But shout out to the Bears. The Bears look better just from what I've seen in the highlights and everything like that. Can't give a big analysis. So did not realize that my mic died as I was doing the outro. So that's really all I got for you guys. I'll see you guys either Thursday or Friday when we review the Kansas City game.